The weather models say we may not be done with tropical development in our area. I'll show you where that development could happen next week. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We are your home for Caribbean weather, and it's really nice to see you here on a late Thursday. Hope you're doing well. Coming up in this video, we've enjoyed some nice weather across most of the area today, but we've got a cold front bringing some heavy rain and storms to a few areas. In our western zones, we have some heavier rain in the Lesser Antilles as well. And friends, I know it's late November, but we might not be done with tropical development in our area yet. I'll highlight that spot coming up in just a second. As always, I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comment section below where you're viewing from, what the weather has been like. Let's get started. Wide shot of our enhanced satellite imagery, the live lightning data here at Meteo Mundo. You can see this thin line on the infrared satellite imagery from southwest to northeast from the Honduras, Guatemala areas across the Cayman Islands, Cuba, and portions of the Bahamas. That is a weak cold front that has settled in. Now, to the east of that, the weather has been beautiful for today. Behind the cold front with a north wind, the weather has been actually pleasantly cool in most spots, but along that front, we've actually had some heavy rain and storms developing, and it's some areas that were extremely impacted by Tropical Storm Sarah. I'm talking about coastal Honduras. Friends, can you believe what they're seeing again? This front has stalled out basically over northern Honduras, and look at the showers and storms that are developing, first of all, across the Bay Islands from Utila, Roatan, Guanaja, back towards coastal areas of the northern side of Honduras, La Ceiba, San Pedro Sula, back into some of the higher mountainous terrain, the areas that got 30 and 40 inches of rain in portions of northern Honduras. This is bad news. They don't need any more rain, and it's just sitting there. Now, this should fade later on this Thursday into early on Friday, but we've had several inches of rain that have already fallen in this area. If you live in these spots, let us know how you guys are holding up. Some of this rain has extended back to coastal portions of Guatemala. We've had a few showers kind of lingering along the Belize coastline for today. More than anything, just some cloud coverage, but a couple of spotty showers, Belize City, Dangriga, back down towards the Punta Cana area there of Guatemala. Again, it's a thin sliver of moisture. If I bring back on the water vapor imagery, the green is the moisture-laden air, the red is the dry air. So you have a lot of drier air surrounding this. Then you have truly dry fall air that has slipped all the way back down into southern Florida and the northern side of the Bahamas. But you get back into places like the Cayman Islands, and yes, we've had some heavy rain and storms roll across this area today as well. Hasn't been as persistent and consistent in Grand Cayman, Little Cayman, and Cayman Brac, but especially in Grand Cayman. Look at this shot from Stephen Hurlson earlier today out of Grand Cayman. That's a good roll cloud there, guys. That's a good hefty storm rolling across Grand Cayman. Appreciate Stephen for sending in that photo. Shows you again the story. Again, it's localized, but we've had pockets of heavy rain up and down that front. Now, as you get back into the Bahamas, there is drier air, and a passing shower or an isolated storm for the Abaco Islands, Andros, Nassau, New Providence, Eleuthera, back down towards Cat Island and Exuma, all possible, but they're really spotty and they're pretty fast moving. Generally speaking, it's been beautiful weather for the Turks and Caicos for today, for the Dominican Republic and Haiti. This is the visible satellite imagery. Puerto Rico's enjoyed a nice day as well. Then you get back down into portions of the Lesser Antilles. There's a very weak trough sitting over some of the islands. It's produced a couple of showers out of the forecast for today. And so, again, relatively quiet conditions. St. Thomas, St. Croix, St. John, the British Virgin Islands, Anguilla, St. Bart's and St. Martin, Saba, St. Eustatius, Antigua and Barbuda. But then we get back down towards Guadeloupe and places like Dominica and Martinique. You can see those brighter white cloud tops there. That's where the axis of the richest moisture, which really isn't that thick, but it sits over that area, and that's where we've had a couple of showers and isolated storm develop. Same thing for Barbados on the western side of the island. Everything has been very localized, and that's what I want to point out. We've had pockets of heavier rain in this area, but it's really localized in nature. So again, you live in those areas that have got some of the rain, let me know. But I imagine a lot of my friends here at Meteo Mundo will be dropping in the comments, Rusty, I've enjoyed a beautiful Thursday. Could see a couple of showers try and pop back up towards Trinidad and Tobago as we go through this late on Thursday. But again, isolated, very spotty in nature. Same thing for Nueva Esparta, and actually trying to get some moisture to return right now to the ABC Islands to at least prompt the possibility of an isolated shower there. Friends, when I zoom back out to the big picture here and I bring back on this water vapor imagery, get a lot of red indicating the drier air. I want you to enjoy this. Starting early next week, we're flipping the switch again and getting back into a fairly wet, inactive pattern. We'll talk about that coming up. Quick second, if you want to give me a simple payback and click this like video on this video right now, the like button, I thoroughly would appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to Meteo Mundo, you want these daily updates, the Meteo Mundo weather community is a great one. They'll tell you we got things rolling here. Thank you for subscribing. We're on our way to 50,000 subscribers. I think we'll get there in the next few days. Thank you for sharing this with your family and friends. Thank you for finding ways to support us here at the channel below. Okay. Look, I know it's late November, but in some ways we can throw the calendar out the window in regards to potential tropical development because it's more about what the environmental conditions are rather than the date on the calendar. When we look at sea surface temperatures here in the Caribbean, and I take myself off camera and you look at that legend, all you need is 80-degree Fahrenheit temperatures or about 27 degrees Celsius. We are there through all of the Caribbean, and it's not just teetering on 27, 28 degrees Celsius. It's 29, it's 30, it's even 30 and a half to 31 degrees Celsius temperatures. So we support tropical development, and it's not just at the surface, there's a quality of the depth of that higher sea surface temperatures as well. Yes, it's cooler in the Gulf of Mexico in the Western Atlantic, but this is the area that we're going to be watching here. I'll be keeping a really close eye on into early and mid next week. So let me show you why. Didn't mean to take myself off camera. Again, we have our Central American gyre, which is the inherent spin across Central America. It's a little bit weaker at this point in time, but it is still inherent spin in the atmosphere, okay? And we're going to start to get a little bit more in the way of favorable winds beginning to return into the Central and the Western Caribbean to spin into that Central American gyre. And just like the past several storms, the two newest ones, Raphael and Sarah, which developed right here, this is the area that we're going to have to be watching for, yes, potential tropical development into mid next week, okay? And I'm going to show you the models coming up, all right? Now again, as I stated with Raphael and Sarah, regardless of tropical development, it's going to get wet again through a lot of our area. This is moisture-laden air. There's still a lot of lift and instability in the atmosphere. There's still a lot of vorticity sitting in the Caribbean. That's all going to aid and funnel in this richer moisture into our area. And there's the possibility to get a low-level spin. Again, I know it's late November, but technically we are still in the Atlantic hurricane season, and there's a reason why it goes all the way to the end of November, and from time to time we even get some activity into early December. I hope this is the last gasp, but we'll have to see. So looking at the GFS deterministic model, which is what I'm showing you right now, again, we're just going to start building up the rain first, the next few days, where rain chances will start to go higher. Then eventually, as we get into early next week, into mid next week, the opportunity under this big slug, this big shield of moisture to begin to wrap up a low-level center of circulation, all right? So, as I've mentioned, the biggest thing, first of all, is the rain that this could bring to a widespread area, and then the opportunity to spin up a storm, potentially, in the Central or the Western Caribbean. So today's the 21st, it's our Thursday. As we get into our Friday and then eventually into Saturday and Sunday, you can just start to see that even late on Sunday and on Monday, there's just a lot of rain in this area, first of all, right? So we're gonna see this moisture spread back into the Turks, the Caicos, and Cuba, and the Dominican Republic and Haiti, and Jamaica, and the Cayman Islands, maybe as far east as Puerto Rico, maybe as far north and west as the Yucatan and Belize and Guatemala. Certainly going to get more rain back down in Costa Rica and Panama, areas that have been wet, areas that have continued to flood. So there's just another big round of rain coming in. But the opportunity underneath that, again, to potentially spin up a tropical system. So what does it look like, first of all, on that vorticity product? And then we'll look at the winds, and I'm going to show you the GFS ensemble, the European ensemble, and then the ICON models, okay? Well, first of all, that's the total precipitation, so I didn't want to do that as of yet, but we will look at that coming up. This is the spin in the atmosphere here. This is the vorticity. It might take just a second to kind of come back on. Again, this is lift in the atmosphere. I want to show you guys that even though there's going to be a lot of moisture coming back in, that's kind of the first part of this. The second part of this is that there will be some spin that'll be trying to develop in the same spots that Raphael and Sarah developed. And again, those were the earlier storms. We also had Helene develop in this area as well, and one other one that eludes me at this point in time. But the eastern side of the Central American Gyre in the Western Caribbean has been extremely active. And again, these are the spots that we would expect there to be potential development this late in the Atlantic hurricane season. So again, as we get into Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, you can clearly see the spin. Look at that spin down here, all right? It's not extremely tight. I can tell you right now, the signal out of the models isn't like a 10 like we would have sometimes in August and September, but it's there. And you can clearly see why. Because a composite of the low level of the atmosphere, which is what this product is showing you, shows you that counterclockwise spin, and even a little bit stronger one just south of Jamaica into mid next week. Okay, so again, this is basically Thursday to Thursday, the 21st to the 28th. So as we get into, that's Tuesday, and then Wednesday the 27th, and then Thursday the 28th. Those are the time frames that I'll be closely watching. Let's take a look at the winds. These are going to be your sustained winds at the surface. Let's loop that up. Again, at the first part of this through the weekend, this is just going to be a big slug of moisture, right? Rain spreading north and east across the areas that I just mentioned. And of course, you know, I'm going to talk about the forecast in the Eastern Caribbean coming up as well. I've got your island by island forecast as well. But I do want to, because it's a little bit unusual. It's not crazy unusual the last several hurricane seasons to talk about, you know, late November activity, but we don't want to put our guard down just yet. So these are going to be your sustained surface winds. The winds are going to be freshening up as things start to kind of bubble up here into especially Monday and then Tuesday and Wednesday. So it'll take just a second to fully get this run to develop, but we can start to see, if you look just south of Jamaica there, as we get into Tuesday, especially on Tuesday right there, and then into Wednesday and Thursday, the opportunity that the GFS deterministic wants to spin a little something up there. Now, this could stay very broad. I want to be clear about that, right? We could have a couple of different areas trying to spin at the low levels and nothing truly gets going, because if it's far enough north, it's interacting with the mountainous terrain of Hispaniola, the mountainous terrain of eastern Cuba, and there could be some fresh winds, but we truly never get a defined low-level center of circulation. That's absolutely a possibility here, and there's not a lot to really, you know, point at and say, hey, this is exactly what's going to be going on. But you can clearly see that on Tuesday, the GFS is kind of highlighting a couple of areas for some stronger winds at the surface. And if we take a look at that, you know, again, regardless of development, just looking at the actual wind speeds associated with this, clicking that button, again, these are sustained winds that are around 35 miles here. Sustained winds south of Jamaica that are nearly 35 miles here. It's just a lot of wind energy coming up, and then we'll have to see if we can get a low-level center to spin. On the GFS ensemble, so now we're looking at, again, all the different ensemble members of the GFS model. Again, you're not going to see the signal that we had during the heart of the Atlantic hurricane season, but you can clearly see that the GFS model has a relatively decent area of low pressure just south and west of Jamaica on Wednesday afternoon. So again, I want to be clear, we're not talking 10 and 14 days out, we're talking 7 days from now. We're talking next Wednesday, the 27th of November, and there are a couple of other different areas here. Again, you know, in the heart of the season, we'd have more of the ensemble members showing you development. But I wanted to point out that a couple of the ensemble members go along with that deterministic, trying to wrap up something here in the Central and the Western Caribbean. What about the European model? If you put more weight on the European model, it's your decision, up to you. You know, all this is for information purposes, but the European model is actually stronger with that potential development. Here you go. This got a very beefy storm south of Jamaica. Now, again, we don't want to focus on any one ensemble member, but you can see that there are a couple of others trying to develop something here from Jamaica, either there or to the south and to the west. It's a little bit later in time. The European model typically always runs a bit behind the GFS in the first couple of runs. This would be early on Friday morning, but we would have that storm developing Wednesday and into Thursday, okay? Now we look at the ICON model, all right? You like the ICON model. This is the rain associated with it. I want to again point out the heavy rain, the widespread shield of rain all the way into the Turks and Caicos, regardless of development, even deep into the southeast Bahamas as well. But if you look back down in that same area, you can clearly see the spin right there into mid next week. And we start to get a low-level center pop up. It's not extremely strong on the ICON model, but it's there, all right? So again, fairly low confidence still about any tropical development, but the signals are there from some of the main global models, but a very high confidence of a lot of rain coming back into these areas, okay? So that's the latest on the potential tropical development. I'm going to keep a very, very close eye on it for you guys. Obviously, we still have some time to watch it, but again, can't put our guard down yet. And if you're thinking, hey, I'm back into the dry season, I'm done with the rain, not yet, my friends. Not yet. Let's talk about how this is going to play out over the next few days in our area, okay? So now, again, we'll watch out for some of this heavy rain, but now let's talk about individual areas, and then we'll go island by island. I'm going to start back off into the Lesser Antilles, all right? Yes, this is an area that will not be directly impacted by the potential spin up in the Western Caribbean, but there's a lot of moisture coming back in, and rain chances here are going to stay relatively elevated throughout the entire island chain. Now, again, I think it's going to be localized in nature, but places like Trinidad and Tobago and Grenada and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, excuse me just one second, there we go. St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Barbados and St. Lucia, areas like that, they're all going to have the opportunity for localized heavy rain the next several days. You can see that slug of moisture coming in. Martinique and Dominica and Guadeloupe and Montserrat, Antigua, Barbuda, Saba, St. Eustatius, St. Martin, and Anguilla, all with fairly high rain chances the next several days. By the way, surf advisories are up as well. Yes, sea conditions are elevated. Look at that slug of moisture coming back in. I hope, again, you've enjoyed the dry weather in the British and the U.S. Virgin Islands, in Puerto Rico, Vieques and Culebra, south winds to southeast winds return. We talked about that in Tuesday's video. And here comes a lot more rain moving back into this area. So rain chances going up. Then we start to see the areas directly impacted by that potential broad spin up. That's going to be the Dominican Republic and Haiti, so Port-au-Prince, Santiago de los Caballeros, Santo Domingo, Punta Cana, Puerto Plata. Rain chances will start to go higher and higher. Eastern Cuba, Turks and Caicos, the Acklins, back on over towards the Inagua Island there, southeast Bahamas, maybe even into the central Bahamas as well, just depending. And then back into Jamaica, my friends in Kingston and Montego Bay. Couple of drier days still to come, but starting late weekend and into early next week, rain chances start to go higher and higher. And we'll just have to see how close whatever this wants to become gets to these areas, including Grand Cayman, the Little Cayman and Cayman and Brac, again, rain chances will start to go higher. Now, I hope that we get the rain to get out of the area in northern Honduras that's been plagued with the heavy rain lately, okay? Let's break down that cold front more. We might see some showers spin back into these areas, but at least in the short term, the better chance for rain will be Nicaragua south. Nicaragua on over towards Costa Rica and Panama here. The ABC Islands will start to see better rain chances as well. My friends in Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, rain chances will start to come. You can just see all the moisture sitting around your area. Maybe there's not a lot of green right over the islands, at least on this run of the model, but there's a lot of green on the map overall. And so I'm actually very optimistic to catch some of the showers there. So again, Northwest Bahamas for the next few days, still relatively dry. Same thing for the central and southeast Bahamas, but starting early next week, especially southeast Bahamas, rain chances really go up. Same thing for the Turks, the Caicos, okay? We could get some of this beginning on Sunday, but probably much higher beginning on Monday. Cuba's rain chances will go up, especially on the eastern side of the island. Again, the Cayman Islands, Belize City, and Cancun and Cozumel, in the short term, drier air still wins out. Rain chances through the weekend are actually relatively low. Jamaica's rain chances will start to improve on Sunday after some drier days tomorrow and Saturday. Dominican Republic's rain chances, again, relatively dry over the weekend, up to a 60% chance on Sunday. Now you flip that and more moisture will be available earlier over the weekend for Puerto Rico and areas east. So Puerto Rico and the U.S. and British Virgin Islands will start to see rain chances quicker returning in those spots, okay? So San Juan and places like Ponce going to get wetter sooner there, starting tomorrow afternoon through the weekend, tailing off late on Sunday. Bermuda has a good chance for rain tomorrow, then isolated Saturday, Sunday. And there's your just very decent rain chances for Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Antigua and Barbuda through the weekend. Gonna kind of tent pole it, if you will, with the highest rain chance on Saturday in the northern areas up to Montserrat. And then you get down towards Guadalupe, Dominica, and Martinique, and it's a little bit more flat as far as rain chances. No one day has a higher chance in an appreciable way, right? But 50 to 60% chance for most areas through Sunday. St. Lucia, 50% chance Friday through Sunday. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, decent rain chances. Locally heavy rainfall is possible, again, in some spots. 1 to 3 inches. Not a lot of folks will get that. 25 to 75 millimeters, but it's out there. Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, pretty good shot. TNT up to a 60% chance on Sunday. Suriname and Guyana, 50 to 60% chance. Nueva Esparta, 30 to 40. After a low chance tomorrow, we build to a 40% chance in the ABC Islands for Saturday and Sunday. Again, sea conditions elevated. Surf advisories are up. Western Atlantic, big push of wind, by the way, coming back into Bermuda as well. Still relatively quiet through most of the Caribbean through the weekend, and then this model's based off the GFS. She'll start to see here just south of Jamaica Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, a little bit of a spin, nothing crazy as of yet. We'll have to see exactly where that bullseye might end up being. And again, this time of the year, you get these mid-latitude cyclones coming off the east coast of the United States, and the boaters know to avoid those open areas of the Atlantic. Okay, so rainfall totals, again, this is my concern in Honduras in the short term. 3-4 inches of rain, more than 100 millimeters in some spots. At the end of this loop, right? This takes us all the way through basically late Thursday night, basically 7 days from now. You can clearly see what the European model wants to do with that moisture and taking it from Costa Rica and Panama and bringing it north and east. So again, regardless of tropical development, look at some of these totals, 6-8 inches near Jamaica and Haiti and Cuba and the Turks and Caicos and the southeast Bahamas. Again, that's a lot of rain. 150 to 200 millimeters in some spots, isolated heavier rain through portions of the Lesser Antilles. In the same situation for the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. Still our driest locations will be what we would expect in late November because cold fronts and drier air work their way into the northwest and central Bahamas, western portions of Cuba, and the Yucatan this time of the year, okay? So a lot of that moisture is more confined to areas to the south, and that's exactly what I see playing out for the week ahead. So here's what I'm watching, friends. Again, the GFS, the Euro, the Icon models, always signals in the next week in the Western Caribbean for signs of potential tropical development. Yes, it's not a crazy signal, but it's there from what I just showed you. It certainly bears monitoring, kind of watch and wait mode. Regardless of tropical development, the rain chances will be going up much higher, and some of that could be heavy, potentially flooding rains, and wind and seas in many locations will continue to be elevated. Friends, I appreciate you guys. You can follow us across all social media. We're on Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook. You want to send me a picture or video like Steven did today, it's myMediaMundo@gmail.com. Have a specific question about the forecast, you can leave that in the comments section below. And of course, while you're down there, thank you for liking and subscribing to the channel as well. Again, we're on our way to 50,000 subscribers. Can't do it without you. Really appreciate the support. Let's get more eyes on the channel. Let's continue to grow. We'll do it together. Friends, you have a great rest of your Thursday. I'm back soon with the latest. Until then, you take care, and I'll see you soon right here at Meteo Mundo.